Gateway 4, Sacred Beauty. Element, Earth. Sacred beauty embraces the divine aesthetic of harmony within and without. It offers us a healthy alternative, the way of natural beauty, to enhance our divine loveliness. Sacred beauty brings harmony to every aspect of one's life through Kemetic etiquette, an ancient form of grace and beauty expressed through the Kemetic Nubian spiritual path. It will cosmically attune you to holistic dress as you learn to unfold into a beautiful attitude filled with a rainbow of colors. Sacred beauty rules the heart center. Without sacred beauty, there is only artificial beauty. Applications for skin, hair, breasts, lips, eyes, all of which cause toxic shock. Developing your sacred beauty helps to create devotion to a divine, beautiful life. The awakening of the gateway of sacred beauty opens the eye of divine aesthetic harmony and rids us of mundane visions of the world. It allows us to transform our world and everything in it for the good and the beauty of humanity. This gateway attunes us to the unlimited possibilities of divine beauty as a healing balm. Gateway 4, Sacred Beauty, helps eliminate sacred beauty blockages in the body temple, boils, skin eruptions, deformities, eczema, baldness, psoriasis, circulation problems, emotional instability, repressed love, heart problems, and problems in love affairs. The awakening of the sacred beauty within will assist us in the elimination of artificial and toxic chemicals so often used on our skin and hair. Spiritual exercises of ascension are to be performed to awaken your inner gateways of divinity so that you may blossom into your full sacred center. For your spiritual baths this month, rose oil or cinnamon promotes love, forgiveness, compassion, and peace. Cinnamon oil helps to eliminate circulation problems, emotional instability, repressed love, and heart problems. Avoid using directly on your skin any essential oils if your skin is sensitive, but especially cinnamon. When bathing, add 4 to 6 drops into your bath water. You may also use the dried and powdered form of these herbs. For example, cinnamon powder, rose petal powder. Your altar should be set up already. We should already have a womb altar mojo bag created from the very first, or I believe actually that video had to be cut in half because it was dropped. So the second video that was uploaded for this year for Gateway 1, we made it. We set it up according to our religious beliefs, root working. We made a mojo bag, but you can make yours however you feel led. You can also look, so you can look at that video and, hear what we put on ours or in ours, and make your own, or you can, set up according to your own religious beliefs. Sit quietly and meditatively before your altar. Add a few drops of cinnamon oil. So this is going to be us working the mojo bag. Add a few drops of cinnamon oil to your mojo bag. To the baptism bowl, right? We have the bowl with a little water that we add when we come to sit down and we bless the water. We can lay hands on it. We add a few drops of oils to it, and we switch it out. So you are going to add a few drops of cinnamon oil and sprinkle a few drops of this around your prayer space. You will anoint with rose or cinnamon oil. Select only pure essential oils. Be sure that they can be used topically on your body. Use this to anoint your crown, your forehead, your heart, The forehead is the body temple gateway of supreme spirituality. The heart, your temple gateway of compassion and divine love. Touch your womb area. Make sure you touch the palms of your hands to make everything you touch become more sacred. And the bottoms of your feet to spiritually align yourself for stepping out into power, promise, and faith. Please bless the womb of my mind, the womb of my heart, and the womb of my sacred seed. Bless my hands to heal, and my feet to walk my sacred path. Ashe. Divine ancestors, as well as the spiritual guardians of the gateway of sacred beauty, please accept our deepest gratitude for your healing presence on our altars and in our lives. Thank you for your guidance and inspiration, and for your love and blessings, and please accept our love and blessings in return. Hitepu. All praise and adoration to the spiritual guardian Het Heru, the protector of sacred beauty. Ashe. All praise and adoration to the ancestor of sacred beauty, Queen Tie. All praise and adoration to the elders of sacred beauty, Lena Horn, Kaitha Het Heru, and Nekena Evans. Ashe. All praise and adoration to my divine self and my contemporary divine sisters, Erica Badu and Lauren Hill, who honor sacred beauty. Ashe. Beloved ancestors, may our body temples become a sacred altar, clothed in an array of rainbow colors, reflecting the beauty and the boundless creativity of your light, so that our body temples may honor our beautiful spirit. May divine beauty be anchored into our harmonious thoughts, and may our peaceful attitudes and conscientiousness be reflected in the sacredness of our dress. May we be a walking embodiment of the beauty of the Creator, so that others may be uplifted by the sacred beauty that we emanate in all of our ways. I am a sacred woman. I am a sacred woman. I am a sacred woman. I am a sacred woman.
Sacred women in the making. Sacred women, reawaken. Repeat this prayer with me as you open up your palms to divinity or gently place them over your heart. Recite.
Sacred Spirit, hold me near, close to your bosom. Protect me from all harm and fear beneath the stones of life. Direct my steps in the right way as I journey through this vision. Sacred Spirit, surround me in your most absolute perfect light. Anoint me in your sacred purity, peace and divine insight. Bless me, truly bless me, as I share this sacred life. Teach me, Sacred Spirit, to be in tune with the universe, how to heal with the inner and outer elements of air, fire, water, and earth.
Sacred Spirit, hold me near, close to your bosom. Protect me from all harm and fear beneath the stones of life. Direct my steps in the right way as I journey through this vision. Sacred Spirit, surround me in your most absolute perfect light. Anoint me in your sacred purity and divine insight. Bless me, bless me, truly bless me as I share the sacred life. Teach me, Sacred Spirit, to be in tune with the universe, how to heal
You're beautiful. Heteru. Your principles have touched my femininity. Heteru. You've blessed my heart. Heteru. Won't you please impart your secrets and your mysteries? Beloved, 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 beloved. Pure blessings from my heart. Pure blessings from my soul. I'll share my love for all to see. Beloved, 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 beloved. Who would believe your grace would move me so that I'd be admiring you? Who would have known that not so long ago I could ever be so impressed with you? Heteru, pure blessings from my heart. Pure blessings from my soul. I'll share my love for all to see. Beloved, 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 beloved. Sister Queen, you sure
Beauty comes from within. I don't think she's beloved. Now that's not hetero.
Beautiful.
So our 42 laws study and the Dinkra study today, we're going to start with the Dinkra. Our first is Kuranti ni Akwamu. And that means democracy, dialogue, sharing ideas, taking counsel. Feel encouraged to take counsel from a trusted source. It's a symbol of, the democracy of it, sharing your ideas and concerns while heeding the signs that will be forthcoming once you open up. It means two heads are better than one. Share of knowledge to empower, to gain more insight. The value is in the exchange. So this is a good one when you need to make a decision, perhaps connect with somebody else and, have a partner in this situation. The law today is I will not set my mouth in motion against any person. There's really no need. There's really no need to talk about other people. There are times when you do need to call out injustice, but when you set your mouth in motion against someone else, that really to me speaks of perhaps spreading lies, things that just don't need to be said. You don't really need to address that person, maybe. It needs to be the situation that needs to be addressed and fixed. So just make sure you're not using your sacred words to that sort of detriment. There are times where you will need to call out a situation of, injustice, disgrace, whatever, to keep that type of balance. But in terms of you needing to sabotage somebody else, that there's no need to do that. And it is not moral, right? 42 laws of Ma are about morality, and the balance within. For our smoke break, first, let me show you my apron, my mama apron, my housewife apron. Isn't it so cute, you guys? I was like, so cute. Anyways, now that I'm all excited about that, let's address health. Let's talk about the diet, right? The diets we've been using. Last week I talked a little bit about drinking, and I was so happy somebody left a comment about, I think she said she was from a part of Kenya where it's, it's cultural there too. And I found that that's true in a lot of places, drinking especially, but other forms of self-medication. And it's like it's a very social thing, you know what I mean? It's normal to reach adulthood and you have a drink, right? Everybody has a drink. Like I said last time, mine is gin. My husband is tequila. You get him some añejo and he's happy as anybody. And, for other people, it's type of wine. For, it just depends. But it is pretty universal, especially in America. But I know I've seen it in other places too, where there's like a drink. Either the drink is, one that the whole community participates in because it's the cultural drink, they make that around that place, or each individual person has their own preference, which I think is probably more likely here in America where we don't, there are different pockets that have invented drinks such as Kentucky bourbon, but we don't really have like a drink that's like quintessential American besides beer. So, and even then, people have their preferences, right? Nobody really fully agrees on which beer is the ultimate best beer, and there's no, beer that's the only one that everybody drinks. So there are some that are, more favorite than others. But my point is just that, it is very normal for us to have that thing. And, even when you start getting into tree, right? You'll have your favorite. For tree, for me, I love to smoke most anything that has white in it and anything that has blueberries, right? So if you bust out some tree and you're like, oh, I got some blueberries, I'm like, hey, whereas, I don't know, cookies, it's like exciting because it's tree, but it's like everybody got cookies. So, we start getting really nuanced into these little things that we use to self-medicate, and I think we forget sometimes that our normal state doesn't have to be this overly medicated state. And the thing is we also have to remember how our choice of medication affects us. This, I think, is really big because, okay, when I was a little girl, I remember reading Gone with the Wind. And in that book, if you'll remember, or if you've seen the movie, I don't know if they do this in the movie. I remember kind of watching the movie, but I don't know if they say this line in the movie. In the book, they describe Rhett Butler, the main guy, the main love interest of Scarlett O'Hara. When he drinks, the more polite he gets. He gets really quiet, but he gets more in control. He gets more in his head. He gets more, he's even less likely to make a mistake when he's drunk than when he was, just being his normal, usual, bubbly self. And that description always stood out to me because I was like, wow, he, that's very unusual. All right, that's very unusual. And the description continues to stay in my mind because I've yet to meet somebody who legitimately became more polite when they got drunk. In fact, I've just never seen it. almost everybody thinks that they're doing really well when they're drunk, but they're actually making kind of a fool of themselves to some degree, which doesn't matter, right? If everybody around you is drunk. And it also doesn't matter if you're around people who you can trust and who don't care that you're drunk and who like will hear you say something, oh, she's a little drunk. It's okay. That's okay too. But we have to remember that that we're consistently, therefore, if we're drinking or if we're doing any of the other drugs that actually really take you out of yourself, which I do think, certain strains of marijuana can definitely do, especially if you're lightweight, so be careful. Like, I'm up here, like, toking and shit, but I've been toking, like, daily for my, like, whole adult life, you know what I mean? So, it's not going to do the same for me as it will for like an 18-year-old who tries to take a fat ass rip and ends up choking for the rest of the afternoon, so, but it does alter you, and like drinking definitely alters me. I know, it does. And even when I think I'm doing a good job, the next day, it's just so blatantly obvious. Like, I did not do a good job. I was not as kind as I thought. I was not as witty as I thought. Or it's like, maybe I was witty, but it didn't come off the way I thought it did. Like, I thought it came off like, oh, she's just so full of, like, charm. And in reality, somebody was like, she's kind of a bitch. You know what I mean? You can't control it. It's the same way, I think, to a lesser extent, alcohol does. What meth, heroin, all of those harder narcotic drugs, we all know how we see that light going out of somebody's eyes when they're participating in those types of drugs. And it's because it's kind of taking away from their control. It's taking away from, their livelihood. And I mean, this has gotten kind of serious from, just like drinking socially. But I mean, I think, really recognizing where we are not in control will help with sacred beauty, because you can't really be a sacred beauty if you're like hopped up on meth, right? Because you're just not in control. You're not controlling your, how you look, how you act, what you say, what you're even thinking, which all, sacred words isn't just what comes out of your mouth, but what's in your thought process. And if your very thought process is being forced to malfunction for your pleasure, you're setting yourself up to not be the sacred beauty, to not be somebody who embodies everything and that energy and is able to walk into a space. So this month, when we're thinking about what we're consuming, what we're putting into ourselves, let's just focus on making sure that it is something that is going to add to the vitality of sacred beauty. You know what I mean? When we're eating our foods, let's eat foods that have better effect on ourselves personally, right? So if you're one of those people who's lactose intolerant but still sneaks 6 bites of ice cream every week because you like ice cream or whatever, you know what I mean? I've been that person, so I've been like, oh yeah, I'm allergic to, I'll be on the toilet for a little while. Like, if you're that person, like, it's not helping your sacred beauty to give yourself acne because you're insisting on eating dairy when you're allergic, or you're insisting on overindulging in these greasy foods, even though every time you eat a greasy food you break out and then you hate yourself because you go outside and everybody's being mean to you, and you could have prevented it. You know what I'm saying? So like with sacred beauty, we're just trying to, with the food portion, we're trying to recognize how what we put within us does affect our outward beauty, how not drinking enough water does affect your outward beauty, how not washing your face, or not or drinking too much, that does affect your face and your body. It also affects your presentation, because sacred beauty is all of those things. It's all encompassing. So anyways, that is my thoughts on food and sacred beauty and this gateway. I think next week we'll probably talk a little bit more on what we can be doing food wise, but I did want to just address those little things that continue to, pull us in, suck us in, even though it's ultimately not helping our ultimate goal. You know what I mean? It's like, I know for a fact I can take a hit and like go out there and just be super chill. People will be cool. But I also know, like, I can take, like, my 2-3 shots of gin and then go out there and I'll think I'm, like, doing chill. I think I'm doing cool. And sometimes I do. Sometimes I do great. Sometimes you do great. But you really can't count on that. You really can't count on you doing great while you're drunk. Or you really can't count on you doing great while you're, like, hopped up on, amphetamines or whatever. Even, caffeine is a slippery road just because the crash down is really hard. So it's like you would be doing really great and beautiful in the morning, and then once that crash hits, suddenly you're really cranky, irritable, mean, cruel, all those things that are, not really embodying sacred beauty. Like, you can be upset and still embody sacred beauty, but in the case of, you just having caffeine withdrawal, so you're chopping people's heads off, it's not sacred beauty at that time. You know what I mean? That's not the equivalent of being angry for a good reason. So anyways, it's been on my mind lately. Just, the thoughts of self-medicating, as well as who we are when we medicate, and making sure that it's like a sustainable process. Like, yes, sometimes you need to medicate throughout the day, for whatever reasons, maybe physical, maybe emotional, maybe mental, etc., etc. But just making sure, we're maintaining an eye on that. We're maintaining a look to make sure everything is remaining balanced as we're attempting to be, sacred women. All right, so today I got some tree. I don't know what kind of tree it is. I just be buying stuff, y'all. See that? I don't know. Just see me. The other reason, before I forget, why I wanted to show you this apron. Sacred beauty and sacred space. These two gateways connect, right? Because I'm gonna die trying to talk. Remember I talked to you about how I had been reading those Marie Kondo joy of, spark joy, clear your space books. The KonMari method. That's what she calls it. Marie Kondo calls it the KonMari method after her name. In it, she does talk about aprons. And, she's talking about how she always dresses nice to clean the house. And, dresses nice, according to her. Because, in my opinion, she's just wearing, like, a midi skirt and a button-up blouse. You know what I mean? If that's dressing up to you, ma'am, you look like you're just going to school, like how I did back in the 4th grade. But if that's dressing up to you know what I mean? Just wearing the skirt and the blouse. I think some people, when you show up to a house and someone's wearing sweats, I'm sure they think you're dressed up. And she was saying it's because she, respects the house. She goes into the house and she's dressed beautiful, or what makes her feel beautiful. And she's walking through and she, it's a form of respect to the house. It's a form of respect to herself to be beautiful. Who's there? Okay, I'm going to come right there, okay? And, so yeah, she's just, when she said, if you do wear an apron, make it a pretty one, pretty over practical, because, it's pretty, it will get dirty, whatever, you can just wash it, or just, figure out what you got to do with it to get it back to its space, but pretty over practical, because you're honoring the space, you're honoring yourself, you're adding beauty to the space just by you being there, cleaning it. And so, yeah, when I saw this, I was like, that is the perfect little apron. So what I'm going to do to this apron, this reminds me, I do have to show you guys the quilt, the Freedom quilt, my version that I've been making, because it's getting awesome, you guys. It's getting good. So anyways, one of the people who inspired me to do the type of quilts that I've been doing with the applique, the one picture of her that I've seen has... she's just wearing an apron. Her name was Harriet Powers. She was a, Southern sister, and she made these quilts, these story quilts. She made Bible quilts, and there's a lot of evidence that she may have practiced root working in hoodoo, because she was a part of some kind of underground religious spiritual society within the Black community that was very highly secretive. And one of the things that she did was, on her apron, she has like a sun and something else. She patchworked a few things onto her apron, and I was like, that's so brilliant, you know what I mean? That's so perfect for us as, housewives, or as people who come into the home, or, have to take care of the home, even if, you don't stay at home, to have an apron with, symbolic powerful symbols on it, which the book I was reading tried to make the case that some of the symbols that she used could very easily be found in Africa, used in Africa, and almost every single symbol, could be translated to that. So literally, it's all up for grabs. It's intuitively up to you if you believe that she did or she didn't. I think it's a little too coincidental. A lot of it, you know what I mean? I think you have to be willfully Christian to decide that, everything she was doing was not working roots at some point. Like, she was most likely Christian, but she was most likely also a root worker. So, I've been thinking about, what I'm going to add to my apron to make it, more, for me, more powerful in that sense, more towards what I'm trying to work towards in my home as well. But I did want to, add that, this is a little mixture of two gateways by wearing the apron for the kitchen, but it's very beautiful to me, and it looks nice and makes me feel good, and it looks good with all my dresses. I was like, this is so fun. All right, so that's our chop for today. Man, it took a long time today, just chit-chatting away. I had a moment today. I had time, cuz. So on to our Sacred Woman studies. We've already read, we've already read since page 216, they opened the gateway. We're going to be moving on to page 219. She has some suggestions for internal food here, as well as at the flower essence recommendations, right? Working with plants, working with flowers. This is a very root working aspect of this program as well. And keep in mind, you don't have to get the flower essences. You don't have to get the essential oils. If you happen to know where this flower grows around you, or you happen to have a flower that heals you personally, or that works for you personally, that sparks something in you personally, feel free to use that flower as your healer, as something to give you inspiration, as something that you focus on and dwell on. Don't necessarily feel drug into her, recommendations, but do, keep them in mind, or jot them down in your womb healing, journal, your womb journal, your grimoire, your spell book, however you refer to it. Keep up with that. And, that way you'll be able to just turn to, make a page that's for that specific ailment. For example, she talks about how pomegranate gives is for conflicting creative desires, especially an expression of the feminine part of self. So if you wanted to put this in your grimoire, a good way to do it so that you would see it when you need it, right? Instead of just writing from front to back, which works for some people, but then other people are like, oh, like, I never see anything when I need it, and like I have no organization system, I can't find anything, there's a million tabs, whatever. You would then be able to write a page of things to do when you are needing to unleash your divine feminine, things to do when you're needing to, where you're not feeling like you can connect with the feminine aspects of yourself, where you're feeling, it's a little more difficult today, or you need to turn it all the way the fuck on. You know what I'm saying? Pomegranate would then be what you write on that list. It would be a page titled like Vixen, or a page titled Divine Feminine, or a page titled, writer's block or artist's block. You know what I'm saying? To unleash your creative desires, you would also put pomegranate in that. Maybe even for conflicting creative desires too, for making a decision, right? So there's a few different ways, places, a few different categories that you'd be able to put pomegranate. Just write a little note, pomegranate essence, just on the sideline of that, simple. And then that way, the next time you're on that page, because you have a page for referring to for this exact moment, then you'd be able to look at that, and that would be written right there on the margin, super simple. And it would be a very simple thing to add to whatever you're doing. The next one she has is Iris. That one's for creative inspiration, artistic expression. Now notice for sacred beauty, she's talking about art. She's talking about art, if you'll notice, creativity, being an actual influencer, should you say, pulling from the inner depths of you, and making yourself into a work of art. I say this in my womb healing workbooks. And I think all of them, I talk about this. I have a little prompt in each workbook. Obviously, it's a workbook, and one of the prompts is to see yourself through the eyes of someone who would see you as a muse. Draw yourself as if you were the greatest muse on the planet. Like I'm always following people on Instagram who I'm like, oh, she's a muse. You know what I mean? Like why she doesn't have more followers, I don't know, but she is just perfect and divine. Her energy is just radiant. What an amazing person, you know what I'm saying? So that same energy is kind of what you're trying to apply to yourself. You're trying to see yourself as a muse. When you get up in the morning and you look in the mirror and you're ready to present yourself for the day, find a way to make yourself into that muse, into that character, into that full essence piece of artwork, right? Into a Mona Lisa, into whatever, she's not even that fine, I don't know. But like people cherish and people respect the different parts of the art. So it's like you don't have to be the finest, right? You don't have to be the most put together, but it is about putting together that whole image the way an artist would put together the entirety of their piece of work, of that collection. Indian paintbrush. Oh, I remember a little story from my childhood about that flower. Anyways, bringing vitality to creative expression, especially from earthly forces. I especially love that from it was like a kid's book, and I don't think it was named that, but it was like a Native American folk tale, and they used those beautiful paintbrush flowers and painted the sky or something like that. It was really pretty artwork. I remember that. But anyways, bringing vitality to that creative expression. So, being able to really see yourself through that eyes of a muse. And some of us, you don't even need the flower essence, right? You hear someone tell you how to look at yourself, and then the next time you look in the mirror, you can kind of look at yourself with that artist's perspective. And then every time you go to your closet, you'll start getting rid of things that can't give you that feeling that you want to feel every time you get dressed, and start holding on to things and gathering things that do, and really make it into it's a lifestyle, just like root work and sacred womanhood. You know what I'm saying? Sacred beauty is a lifestyle. So pretty face, beauty that radiates from within, self-acceptance through understanding that true beauty is an attribute of the soul. I need to see that flower calling itself pretty face. Who called it that? I'm kidding. Pink monkey flower addresses issues of fear of exposure and rejection. Oh, that's so perfect. I bet you everybody is feeling like they need them some pink monkey flower at some point, especially when you're trying to come out as the real you, or even change, you know what I'm saying? That was the real you 5 years ago. That was who you needed to be. And then now you need to be somebody else. You're trying to be somebody else. Then you're scared though, because sometimes it's nerve-wracking to just bust out in a new form, doing new things, people, eyeing it and taking it in, and maybe they won't like it. Maybe people will call you a poser. Maybe you'll lose friendships that you thought were a little deeper than that. You know what I'm saying? But there is that fear of expression, or exposure, that fear of rejection, that fear of someone being like, oh, you think she's so spiritual? I have this picture of her in booty shorts and in a Jesus t-shirt in 2002. And they'll expose you or whatever. But I mean, at the end of the day, first of all, we can't be scared to live our fullest life. I was reading in this book, I've been studying seduction lately, in that form of sacred beauty. And one of the things that in the book that I was reading, it noted was how pretty much any woman or any person who takes on a kind of sensual, sexual character automatically sets themselves apart from other people, because other people are just too scared to do it. Other people are just too scared to say what they want. Most people are too scared to say what they want. Most people are too scared to take on that persona of being a seducer, of being an artist, of being different, of being influential or unique. Most people are too nervous. And so even taking it on a slight bit at a time will automatically start to set you apart in different ways. In a way that's not necessarily flamboyant, look at me, but in a way that definitely makes you concrete, unique, and understanding of what it is that makes you you. That it's not just you, ascribing things that you like from other people, but that you genuinely, understand that this is what makes you tick. This is who you are. And, I mean, again, it can change, but I think, stepping into it and really embracing those change, and also embracing that sometimes you got to let things go. You know what I mean? When you're trying to be a sacred woman, I hate to say it, but sometimes you got to let people go. You got to let things go. You got to let situations go. You got to let actions go. And it's not because necessarily it's like, oh, those things are all bad, naughty, but because you've outgrown them. They've outgrown their purpose for you. And just like Marie Kondo says, thank your t-shirt before you go put it in the giveaway pile. Thank that situation, thank that friend, thank that group of people, that meetup, whatever it is, for what it served you, for what it was. But then also, let it go, should I say, let it go, and be ready to accept things as they come in the future. And finally, we should still be following our diet transition, releasing more meat from the diet, releasing dairy from the diet, not overindulging on these things. Your sacred journal, it's best, it's really easy. I think you'll find, just a minute. It's really easy, I think you'll find, to get the spiritual messages when you're feeling really cleansed, when you're feeling really not as dense. So that's why I think also the morning time is suggested, but then also the internal cleansing, eating better foods is suggested as well. So that's 4 to 6 a.m. She recommends writing in your journal. Consult Sasheta, or your innermost secrets, to release if you're having trouble writing. And just, don't feel pressure to write any certain thing. You can write different prompts in your journal. You can also, just let the pen flow, draw, just take notes on something that's interesting to you. It could help you in, some way. Just take those little notes, and then take those notes, and whatever thoughts start sparking from what you're writing, right? You're just watching a video, someone's giving you a quick little lecture on hoodoo from YouTube, but then that sparks a thought in you about something else, and then you just pause that video real quick and start writing down your thoughts. Let somebody else's thoughts spark in you, and then you continue the conversation. That's, it's another very African way of doing things, indigenous, should I say. Even the storytelling tradition is very indigenous, tribal, so in that way, you're carrying on the story, you're carrying on the narrative, the conversation, and that way you're also not feeling so pressured, like, oh, I needed to think up a whole thing and write a whole beautiful entry. No, just go ahead, listen to the thing, take some notes, and be like reflecting on your life, and then just let that naturally flow into your own journal, and add your thoughts or intuition, whatever is coming to you as you hear this information. Just write it down and see where it leads you personally in your thoughts, your personal life, because no one else is going to write anything. No one else's reflection is going to be anything like yours, right? Your situation, your circumstance is different from everyone else. So the way you're going to interpret that person's message is going to be a little different, and maybe you'll be disagreeing with them, and that's okay too. It's just about letting the words flow, and recognizing the power of those words, and recognizing the power of letting them flow, and learning to get control over them, right? Learning to practice in that way. All right, so the closing sacred words, your sacred words for the month, should I say. Ancestors, help me to keep a beautiful sacred body temple within and without, that I might live my life as a work of beauty in the world. But deciding on the right supplements to put into your smoothie can be tricky, but really look at the foods that you're eliminating from your diet. Also getting blood work from your doctor would be super helpful in this situation. But intuitively also, looking into things, maybe just, I mean, there are some things like, for example, the spirulina, the blue green mana, those things, seaweeds are generally, it's like, and everybody should probably just be taking them just because they're so nutrient dense. Things like vitamin C, not everybody needs vitamin C, you know what I mean? So, you know, it would just be up to you, you know, like she said, seeing if your immune system is compromised, vitamin C could be helpful. If you are stressed, then what did she say? It was vitamin B. So, you know, it's up to you to kind of be really reading your situation. And that's a lot of what home remedies are really about. So then we have a large raw salad, right? Remember, we've talked about this. Get your greens, chop them up real small, and get lots of greens. Make sure you grab a handful of herbs to chop and mince and put in that salad as well, because that's what's going to add all the depth and the flavor, and it's going to make you feel kind of eager to take your next bite. So make sure, you know, this could be thyme, this can be fresh, right? We're talking fresh thyme, fresh rosemary, maybe a small bit of fresh rosemary in there. You can also put, you know, those flowers, those edible flowers in there. You can also put you know, herbs like your salt and peppers to add the flavor. You have your spinach, your sprouts, your you know, when I go to my local Asian market right up the street, it's got things like what will it have? You know, like it will be like pea leaves. The leaves from the peas are edible or something like that, you know what I mean? And they'll sell that. And so I'll just take those and get a small handful of that, chop it up real fine, and put it in with my salad greens. And then put, you know, obviously all the colorful things. You can be putting mushrooms, your red peppers, your tomatoes, your beets. What are other things you could be eating in there? She's got she recommends you add some protein to this as well. Oh, she actually says no tomatoes. Haters gonna hate. No, I know it's pretty acidic. Maybe that's why. Plenty of sprouts, like alfalfa, mung bean, okra, kale, cauliflower, turnip greens, mustard greens, broccoli, seaweed of any form. Add these to your soups and salads. Choose one protein to put into your salad. So this one you could be soaking in water overnight. Sprouts, peas, lentils, beans, tofu, texturized vegetable protein. I think also the soaking of the seeds, different seeds, and then putting those in a salad is always super rewarding to me. If you're a flesh consumer in transition, you can prepare baked fish, but no shellfish, soya chicken or organic chicken 1 to 3 times a week. So that's, I think, the ideal diet if you're just trying to be a sustainable meat eater. 1 to 3 times a week having your meat, and you know, hopefully using healthier meats. But I mean, I guess if you're like, I'm gonna eat my one hot dog, I'm gonna eat a hot dog once a week, you know, do you? But you know, if you're trying to be a sustainable meat eater, I would definitely recommend that 1 to 3 times a week eating meat. That's it. And then it's like, if you're gonna want to, you know, maybe split that into portions and eat it across the thing, but only 1 to 3 servings of meat a week should be fine. She also says you can choose from raw soaked nuts such as almonds, filberts, walnuts, pecans. She says avoid cashews and peanuts, I think probably because the fat content is just so high. Again, if it's a transition thing, I would say definitely, you know, be careful. But I also think, you know, utilizing what you can and not being so strict on yourself if there's no need to be is important. So grains, one of the whole grains 4 to 7 times a week. Soak them, such as tabbouleh and couscous, 10 minutes before eating. Soak the denser ones such as bulgur, wheat, millet 1 to 2 hours or cover overnight. May also have cooked brown rice during your transitional period, baked potatoes, whole wheat, sprouted bread, dry toasted, corn on the cob, which can be lightly steamed or raw. I prefer corn on the cob raw. Ever since I heard that you could eat it raw and I tried it, I think corn just tastes better raw. I just do. And it tastes really good in a salad. Dinner should be a repeat of lunch with your juice, you know, and your salad. After the sun goes down, don't eat your proteins or starches though. So don't add none of that to it. You should be doing your dancing of the womb 15 to 30 minutes a day. So this can be intuitive dancing. You can be following along with my videos. You can just pick and choose your own moves from what you've learned. You can just intuitively do your own womb yoga flow. However it is you do. You could be doing this enemas. Don't forget the power of the enema, especially if you feel like you're like, whoa, my colon needs a jump start to release these toxins. The enema will help you with that. You can get a professional. You can also just do a gentle home one. So it's up to you. Your rejuvenation baths. She recommends 1 to 4 pounds or 1 pound of Epsom salt. 1 to 4 pounds Epsom salt or 1 pound Dead Sea salt in your bath, 7 nights straight, 15 to 30 minutes. Then shower the salt off and let it all just run down your body. Don't use bath salts if you have high blood pressure. This also, during this, if you take that bath, I would recommend right before you stand up to rinse all the salt off, stand up in the bath, make a big bowl of nice, I would say cold water, put lots of flowers and make it very beautiful. Maybe put that rose petal powder, make it a nice purpley, red, deep red, your water, or, whatever beautiful colors you can with whatever herbs you found. Make it a nice, beautiful smells and pour that over your head and, really let the sacred beauty just wash over you. Put some vanilla in there, would be a beautiful smell, some cinnamon, some flower essences. Recommending, you drink your herbal teas by, put the herbs in the boiling water the night before and then strain the next day and drink your teas, a very strong version of them. She recommends clay applications to the womb, and to the face, to the hands. Clay is a very healing element to the skin as well. Pulls, it helps you detox. And then finally, she adds, to drink 2 to 3 quarts of distilled water daily. Add to this the juice of 1 lemon or lime as well. Or should we say, if you don't feel like drinking lemon or lime water, get a crystal or stone to put into the bottom of your cup, to continue to add that sacred, holistic element to your drink, to your herbal tonics, to whatever it is you're doing. Whisper your blessings over the stone and put that into there, and then pour your tea over. But make sure it's not a stone, of course, that can disintegrate into your drink and, get into your system. Thousands of years ago, African beauties were the most sought after women there were. Foreigners went absolutely insane when they saw our ancestors' sun-ripened, melanin-rich Nubian skin and honeydew hips. African women had the capacity to squat in a childbearing position and birth all of the many colors of the world. African women were amazing. Centuries later, we now wear someone else's garments. Where are the symbols of our natural beauty? Where are our adornments, our woven linens, our drapes, our shawls, our turquoise and amethyst neck pieces, silver and bronze bracelets, lapis lazuli headpieces and anklets, cowrie shell waist beads, gold and silver toe rings, lotus flower earrings worn by our sisters Queen Tia and Nefertari? When did we stop wearing quartz crystals and gems and purples, blues, whites, greens, bronze, and topaz? What happened to our sacred perfumed oils, lavender, sandalwood, and almond? Have we forgotten that black coal protects our eyes as well as gives them mystery? Take back those gray suits and trench coats, the garments you wear to dress for success and prosperity. We can no longer be hypnotized away from our true African self by commercials and marketing tricks. So here is kind of the essence of it. But she is saying that we need to we are allowed to reclaim those different nuances of our tradition. Those beautiful little things that we're told are not appropriate, are not beautiful, are too much, or are not appropriate when you go out into other settings. Those things are what makes us us. When you see somebody with all of those rings on her fingers and her long nails and her makeup done, a lot of people will trash this and call it unlearned, uneducated, ratchet, whatever words they feel like using. But at the same time, these things are some of the things that hail from our culture, and we've been told are wrong. Walking around smelling like sandalwood, somebody will say you smell like patchouli, and they'll, may accuse you of being a pothead or accuse you of being, any sort of deviance because you don't smell like Love Potion #9 or whatever, Chanel #9 or whatever it's called, whatever things people smell like, that Victoria's Secret perfume that everybody wore, for a minute there. Because you don't smell like those normal things, people will assume you're just super deviant. And we've kind of let that narrative continue. We've kind of also accepted the narrative that if you're not doing things the way white people do it, you're being deviant, you're trying to be a revolutionary. And just living your life shouldn't be, it kind of is a revolutionary act, but we don't have to treat it as such a revolutionary act within our own community. We can be, just see a head wrap and be okay with it. Just see an ancient Adinkra symbol or the ankh on around somebody's neck and be at ease, at peace. Hear that somebody else, practices with their ancestors and, be at peace, or see that that's on their shirt and be at peace. You know what I'm saying? Taking back our birthright is our birthright. You know what I mean? It's your right to do so. It's yours. And so there is maybe a need to wear your gray suit somewhere. But if you can make a way to embrace your own unique style, your own culture, your own heritage, and add that to your style, that is part of sacred womanhood, is that pride of heritage and that ability to display it while still being appropriate for whatever situation you're in. Call for a New Era of African Beauty by Tahtahme. This is page 225. The world is indebted to us for the benefits of civilization. They stole our arts and sciences from Africa. Then why should we be ashamed of ourselves? This was Marcus Garvey, an honorable ancestor. Telling our story from an African perspective is important. It gives us the truth about ourselves. It is our way of looking at our past and remembering with the aid of images and writing, monuments, how we worked, played, dressed, and lived. Without our story researched and written by us, we have no link to our past, no connection to the ancestors. Without our own identity, we are adrift in a sea of constantly changing images, controlled by the image makers of the larger culture. We are left searching for self, being in style with whatever current fashion of the day is. One day, it's jerry curls we maintain by wearing plastic shower caps in the streets. Next day, it's blue or green contact lenses. Next day, it's pants worn down. But beautiful Nubian African women existed before the beginning of recorded history. Their timeless beauty reflected their inner state of mind. Over 5,000 years ago, in the ancient days of our Nubian African civilization, in the land of Tawi, pre-dynastic Egypt, the temples were schools of learning, where the sacred arts of beautifying and ennobling the body temple were taught. In the temple of Heteru, dedicated to the sacred principles of divine love, beauty, nurturance, joy, music, and dance, young women were initiated by wise women called abutu, or priestesses. They were taught the sacredness of the great divine universal mother, Mut Ast, renamed Isis by the Greeks. They learned that love and beauty are divine in essence and begin with inner harmony at the center of one's being that radiates out to the world. Beauty was not just cosmetic, only enhancing the appearance. It was also cosmological. True beauty involved knowing the spiritual, mental, and physical laws governing the universe. The young initiates learned that to be beautiful was to be in harmony with nature. Nature veneration, right? It's not just about being in tune with your internal space, but also the external world. That's why we're using natural ingredients for our bodies, for our health, for our wombs. We always saw ourselves as beautiful. Knowing that we're beautiful generated respect for our body as a sacred divine gift to be honored and cared for. Beauty to Nubian African women meant taking the time to nurture the self. We knew that being beautiful meant taking charge of our thoughts and actions. The word for beautiful in our ancient Mtu language is nefer. We are descendants of the beautiful African woman. Queen Tiye, 1415 to 1340 BCE, was a powerful Nubian African queen from the land of Kush. This great royal spouse of Amenhotep III was the mother of pharaohs Akhenaten and Tutankhamun, and the mother-in-law of Nefertiti, one of history's most classic beauties. Tiye reigned as queen consort and queen mother of comets for half a century. She had great influence on arts and fashion of the time, from the changing of hairstyles, she was who adorned her head with the short Nubian-style wigs instead of the long-haired wigs more fashionable at the time, to the wearing of her jewelry. Reclaim our heritage. The consequences of more than 300 years of transatlantic slavery beginning in the early 16th century and the continuing mental enslavement of our people today have had devastating. So to end real quick, we're going to go with reading on page 224, reclaiming my ancient African beauty. She says, I now reclaim my sacred African beauty legacy that was designed to empower me. I will express my own natural beauty and grace from the ancient African lotus flower that sat on my crown and draped over my first eye to indicate my thoughts of divine perfection and illumination, to the crown I wore on my head to indicate a high spiritual consciousness, from the headband swirling around my first eye to protect my higher mind and keep me in tune, and the circular earrings that link me to the infinite continuum of the cosmos, my earrings of gold and silver, of faience and gems I see worn by my ancestors carved on the walls of Abydos, Amarna, and Philae, to the floral colors that bathe me in rainbow radiance, my form-fitting and full-flowing wraps and robes. I anoint myself with spiritual oils, with mandrake, frankincense, myrrh, sage, and cedar, to protect myself from any harm and danger. I do all these things and more to create harmonious vibrations around myself and my mate. I lovingly do my part to restore the love and respect that by nature we have for each other. I groom, calm, and dress my soul by playing and listening to the sounds of the divine inter, with the sounds of harps, bells, strings, flutes, and drums, surrounded by the melodic voice of my ancestry that continues to live in me. You ask, where is my ancient African beauty? I am here, and it is here. And thus it is here. I defend my right to be. Here I stand. This is kind of the part where we realize that the beauty that we apply to things and apply to ourselves permeates the world around us. It affects health. It instigates healing. The different ways that we dress ourselves, we dress, our children, we walk out into the world can protect us or it can leave us open and vulnerable. And it kind of depends on which situation, what you should be doing. But that's what she talks about when she's saying, your very headbands can have a gemstone on it that is protective of you when you leave. You can be covering your hair for that protective measures. You can be wearing certain colors specifically every day to facilitate what you need to be happening in your daily life, using that color energy. You can be using, any number of things that, are paying tribute to your ancestors or paying tribute to your the generations to come, your descendants. So, it's both, right? Because you are both, right? You're the ancestors and you're also the future. But you're also here now making these decisions that affect, both, in so many ways. So your dress, is so powerful. This week, I want everybody to focus in on, their wardrobe, focus in on making a plan for themselves if they do not have one already, that focuses on their sacred beauty, how they present themselves, what you present yourself says to other people, and what you could perhaps tweak to more get that message across. Thank you so much for joining me for the Sacred Sister Circle. I'm Sacred Woman Practitioner Tahtahme. If you enjoyed this, please go to patreon.com/Sacred Sister Circle and donate $1 a month. And this dollar goes to us. Well, first it goes to saying thank you, but it also goes to us getting more materials to read out of and use during the Sister Circle, to learn from. And further, I think that actually that's it. Sorry, that is it for the Sacred Sister Circle today. Yeah, just focusing on making our plan for our sacred beauty, what that means to us, what we are trying to say with our sacred beauty, what we're trying to heal, the message we're trying to get across. All right, may your ancestors and spirit guides be with you at every crossroads, and I will see you next week on Monday.